the man can't lead you because you're saying, well, no, I'm going to lead. So what I've walked through in my life is not for me. It is for me to share, to give other women hope.
Meet real Madhura Joshi, a woman whose life lessons have shaped her into one of the most trusted family coaches of our time. From navigating personal struggles to guiding others through emotional storms, Madhura has learned one truth. Every family can heal, grow, and thrive when they feel understood. Get ready for her episode with Emmy Shine Podcast.
Lady Madhura, so good to have you on my podcast today. It's just a very short notice and you deliver. Thank you so very much. I am grateful. I know that you occupy a couple of roles. I'll leave you to say that, but one thing I know is that you are a feminine leadership mentor, feminine leadership coach. So that I know about you, but I'm going to allow you to introduce yourself to anyone who's viewing or who's listening. Please go ahead. Well, yes.
Thank you so much for having me on with you this evening. So again, my name is Madhura Joshi. I am a feminine leadership coach, helping women flip the script on leadership in today's day and age and helping them go back to more of that softness, but there's still power in that softness as they lead, because at the end of the day, we need more women, more in their feminine than in their masculine to lead, because that is their superpower.
You know what, speaking about masculine and feminine, I'd like to ask you, in our society these days, how that men are relinquishing their responsibilities to women. What do you have to say about that?
Yes, well, it is true. There is, I think, in today's society, we've swung in the complete opposite direction than where it should be. So it's gone from the space of balance and equity and gender roles to the pendulum has swung on the complete opposite spectrum, where a lot of women are saying, we don't need men, we can do it by ourselves, all of this stuff. But in the grand scheme of things, let's be honest, your pillow's not going to keep you warm at night. You're still paying someone to come fix your pipes if your pipes are busted. Yes, you could figure it out, but at the end of the day, firefighters, 95% of them are male. Police officers are men. Your guy doing your roof is a man. You're still requiring men. So I think as women, yes, a lot of women have been burned. A lot of women have been with men who don't know how to lead. And there is a generation of men also that don't know how to be men. So it is a big swing in which way. So there's lots of women who are saying, well, I don't need a man child, so to speak, because if you're not going to lead me, I might as well do it by myself. And then they block themselves from what's possible for themselves and finding that love and finding the man that can lead them. And then there's men who have that to offer, but the women are jaded, and then they're holding back in those relationships because they're then weaponizing intimacy. They're getting greedy. They're not really seeing the value of the partnership where the man is leading, but they're unwilling to listen because of today's society that preaches, oh, independent women. And so we're missing the ball on a lot of stuff here when it comes to relationships and how relationships can be successful. And both parties are at fault. I'm not just pinging women as the ones that are going in the opposite direction and not allowing the good men to have an opportunity. But there are a lot of men who have really amazing women, and they're not really treating their women like queens in that sense.
I believe you're right. The pendulum seems to have swung, like it's actually shifted. Man was created with that responsibility to take care of a woman, but right now it looks like, hey, like, yo, I'm fine. Ladies are saying, I'm fine. Like, yo, how much do you make? I probably even make more than you. Do you get the wrong interpretation of feminism, where like, I'm good all by myself. I don't need you. I don't need your money. I don't even need that thing that you give by 4 a.m. I can take care of it by myself.
Yes.
We have something that can take care of that. Like, we live in a fractured world where A lot of things are broken. Look at people like you, raised by good parents, coming out all sparkling and shining with good values. But right now, we are even scared of what our kids are going to become. So there's been a shift. But what has caused it? What has led to this complete shift where men are not holding up to their responsibilities, and women have now become men? You now have women who have now become men. Like, what's going on? What has led to that? What caused it?
I think what's happened is there's a generation of men out there, and I'm not saying all men, because there are good men out there. I'm not dissing the good men out there, but there's a generation of men. The way they were raised was not raised in a way to lead. They were pampered. They were enabled. Their idea of leading is I bring home the paycheck. And unfortunately, that's not everything a woman needs, because now women are earning. So you can bring a paycheck home, but if you aren't leading me in every other aspect, I don't need your paycheck. And so it's come to that point, and then men are expecting women to go out and work, come home, cook, clean, raise the family, be intimate with them. There's no partnership anymore, and a lot of women are feeling resentful. There's a lot of abuse, whether it's financial abuse, there's abuse, physical, verbal, emotional abuse. But what's happened is, because there's so many more educated women out there, money isn't the only thing that is going to keep them happy. And so if you're coming home and you're sitting on the couch and your wife has gone to work and now has picked up the kids, come home, she's responsible for taking them for activities, making sure there's dinner on the table, making sure the house is clean, and then expected to do her wifely duties at night, there is nothing for her to give at that point, because she's getting nothing in return. And I think also there's this scenario where women have really good men in their lives, and they are not treating their men like the kings that they are, and they're just expecting queen treatment, but they're not speaking to the king in them. So how is this man supposed to go out there? And because there's battles that as us women will never understand what a man deals with on the outside.
It is true.
Nor do I want to. I do not want to be a man. I am perfectly happy being a woman. But if I'm going to treat a man like dirt and then expect him to treat me like a queen, it doesn't work. And vice versa. If a man is treating a woman like dirt and then expecting her to treat him like a king, it doesn't work. So you have to speak to the king and queen of your partner.
How
at the end of the day,
women speak to the king inside a man? How can the queen bring out the kingship or the kingdom that's inside a man?
I think for women, it's really going back to the foundation and allowing themselves, when you walk through the door, switching that controlling side of yourself. Because women are out there, corporate, they're leaders, but they don't know how to switch off when they come home. So when they come home, they're still trying to control everything. And it's really hard to be led if you're not willing to be led. The man can't lead you because you're saying, well, no, I'm going to lead.
Well, because there can't be two captains in the ship.
There can't. Too many chefs in the kitchen, captains in the ship. It just doesn't work, but it's very hard. It's a hard thing to learn how to switch off, because what's happened is when they come home, sometimes they don't feel safe enough to surrender to or submit to the man in that way.
So how come they are able to submit to their bosses at work, but they're not able to submit to their man at home?
Because at work, we're taught at work your boss is king, right? Like, you have to do what's required. They're burning out at work. That's what's bringing in the paycheck. At the end of the day, you're gonna listen to who's paying your bill. But what's happened is communication has dwindled. People aren't talking about mutual vision, how they're doing. There might not be support necessarily from your spouse to help you move forward. They might not be supportive of what you're up to. They might feel jealous that, oh, you're earning more or whatnot. But in those cases that the man is super supportive, women are scared to let them in because they have never been taught how to do that. Women have never been taught how to be women, period. We've been taught how to be mothers. We've been taught how to run a household. We have been taught how to do our jobs. We've been taught how to make sure there's food on the table, but really being a wife, being a woman, and what does that truly mean, women don't have a clue.
So who's responsible for teaching or educating women on being a woman?
It's a journey, but I think it is now the next generation of mothers who are raising daughters that needs to start to teach their daughters how to be women. How do you want your relationship to look like? Because we are taught, yes, make sure you get married to someone who has a good education, who comes from a good family, or all of these things. But behind closed doors, that's not maybe how it's going to turn out. But they don't talk about women's desires. What kind of marriage do you see yourself in? What is the communication styles? These are the things that need to be taught to the younger generation coming up before they decide to walk down that aisle. There's a change for women who are kind of having that awakening around 35 that are saying to themselves, this is not necessarily the life I want. I want to change it, but they're trying to figure out how. And as they get into their 40s, you come to a point where you stop caring about what other people think, and you start having the courage to move in the direction of living the life that you desire more and more.
The challenge I'm having is, if these women do not know how to be women and they are now mothers, how are they able to communicate such education or training to their daughters? Because it's garbage in, garbage out. You can't give what you do not have. So today, are they going to have to get some trainings out? Like, how is it going to happen? Otherwise, it's going to be like a fallen world.
I think nowadays, though, the younger generation is not willing to put up with things the same way that our generation put up with stuff. I think the younger generation, with social media of how to date, how to be a spouse, how to do your job, what kind of business to run. The information that people can get nowadays is way more than what we had growing up. And so I think women are waking up to realizing, hey, I want more and I want something different. It's just they have to have the courage to step into that. And they have to be having that mindset, because it all comes down to having the right mindset. Having the mindset to learn and grow, and having that growth mindset, because if you don't have that growth mindset, that doesn't matter. You're not going to want to change. You don't want to change your circumstances. You want to stay where you are. And that's to each their own. But if a woman is starting to figure out, hey, you know what? I want to dress a certain way and it makes me feel good, and they lean more into what makes them feel good, their daughters will start to see the difference in them.
It's so important what you just said. If the moms or the parents are able to communicate these virtues to their daughters, and in fact, let me say on their sons as well, because let's not look like we're just going after the ladies, or coming to the next generation, which involves the guys, the teenagers today, the young girls today, and the guys as well. If that value is inculcated into them, if they're able to imbibe it, and how to translate it and practice it, even when their parents are not there, you have a better family. The girl or the guy gets married to a better home. How does it even become a better home? Because you're bringing your values and the guy is bringing his values, and when they come together, it's a valuable entity or a valuable home. A house now becomes a home. So it's not just a house.
Yeah.
So I really think it's a very valid point. To digress a bit, at the end of the day, we're still going to come on there, because what I will ask you will eventually bring you to the same thing. You are Josh Madhura, okay? You are a feminine leadership mentor. I want to ask you about your identity. Who is the real Madhura?
The real Madhura is a woman who has had a lot of obstacles in her life. One that has come out on the other side. I have walked through the fire more times than I can count. Things that could have taken me out, still walking, and I truly believe that every test that we have will lead to our testimony. And our testimonies are not for us. So What I've walked through in my life is not for me. It is for me to share, to give other women hope that they can come out on the other side, give them a voice that they might not have. Who I am is a woman who knows that no matter what life throws at me, I will come out on the other side stronger than ever.
So you are a woman who found your identity. You know where you are, you know who you are, but a lot of ladies do not know who they are. For a lot of ladies who do not know who they are, and which is one of the reasons why you've gone through the things that you went through, and that's why you are carrying the passion that's in your heart. But I want to ask you in that line, is it a function of the community, of the government, that they are struggling with identity? Because you also even mentioned about the women of color, how they are not able to set boundaries or say no or say yes, or know when their rights are being trampled under, or trampled upon. So is that a function of the government, or is it just the parents, or is it just social media? What's the reason?
From what I've spoken to people about, it is our upbringing. It is what society wants us to be, and so we feel that if we don't do something, we're going to upset somebody, and not realizing that if we start putting everybody else's needs above our own, we are going to burn at the end of the day. And I'm saying that from experience because I've done that. Landed me in the hospital, and so I know very, very well that I think women find themselves as they get to about 35 to 42 is this awakening that many women have. And that's when they start to really awaken who that person truly is, what they want. And what happens during that time is at 35, they kind of wake up and go, is this the life that I truly desire? Something is not working for me, and I need to change it if I want things to change. And so I think it really depends on the women and who also they're surrounding themselves with. If you're surrounding yourselves with women who are constantly complaining and saying, oh, my life sucks, I can't do this, I can't do that. And if you're surrounding yourself with men as well that are in that same mindset, you're not going to find yourself the same way, because again, it's that negative, toxic mentality that my circumstances determine where I'm going. I can't change. This is who I am. Deal with it kind of mentality. And so it's hard to shift at that point. But I think as women get older, you do step into figuring out who you are. And you stop really taking on the burden of other people's expectations of who you should be.
Does it have to do with the age or the experiences that they are going through, or maybe the bad times? Because I mean, like for you, I'm not sure, I've not really heard your story, but apparently you probably went through certain areas, certain pain that pruned you into the princess or the prize that you now have attained. Was it a function of the pains that you went through? What is it that makes a woman find or rekindle identity and come to that true light?
I think it's all part of the journey we walk through. It's our lived experiences that really prune who we become, because we're constantly evolving, right? If you're not growing, you're dying. At the end of the day, that's fact. So it comes down to, and I think motherhood changes a woman. She starts to see life through different lenses, and brings different meaning through that. Marriage brings a different light to it. In my case, I was separated from my husband 11 months before he passed, and so became a widow, which then is a different lens and life experience that you go through. So all of these different things that can break a person in many ways. It's about how strong you are in your conviction to wanting to move forward.
How were you able to overcome that period that you were in?
I think there was a lot of faith, there was a lot of prayer, a lot of journaling, talking to God, and by God's grace, I have gone through it. I've stepped out of the shadows of that, and I'm still developing and growing, and all of these experiences are moving me in the direction that I'm going in with my business. And even with my career, I'm doing my master's in counseling psychology because I know that there's a need to help women come out of their shell, especially because there is a taboo around getting help.
Wow. Well, you're going to tell me more about the taboo getting help. This is getting hotter, this is getting sweeter, this is getting rosier, but we're just going to go for a short break, and we will be back.
Madhura has learned one truth. Every family can heal, grow, and thrive when they feel understood. Get ready for her episode with Emmy Shine Podcast.
Yeah, so we were talking about the identity of the ladies, that how do they find the identity? You did find yours through the persecutions that you went through the trials that you went through the demons that you were fighting, and I think you said it has to do with your past relationship and all, so, and I was trying to ask you, how were you able to go through those times, considering you even had kids? It must have been such a very perilous time for you. How were you able to muscle through such time?
Yeah, so for me, it was a lot of realizing that, okay, this is part of my story. What's happening is not happening to me, it's happening for me. And a lot of prayer, asking God for guidance, because I knew I couldn't do it alone. And I had a strong support system. I have my parents and my friends, and I have 2 young boys. So at the end of the day, I knew I had to show them that doesn't matter what life throws at you, you can come up on the other side. And I've always believed for a very long time that God doesn't give you anything you can't handle. So I knew that if this is what I was going through, I can handle it. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be fun, but I will get up. I will come out on the other side.
What advice are you going to give to any woman, lady who's going through, or even immigrant ladies who are going through the challenges right now, just like you experienced? I mean, I'm not saying that you've already attained or you're there perfect, but at least you've gone through a particular phase that you overcame. And so that makes you a stronger woman. That makes you to have a story, a story to tell and to teach other people, so they can overcome their challenges as well. So the bitterness that other people are going through right now, and they're thinking of giving up on life, listening to you, what advice can you offer them?
No matter what you're faced with, no matter how hard it is seek help. Because I know we touched on that, right? We touched on the taboo of mental health and getting help. But find help. Seek, whether it's a therapist, have your social circle, because you've been put on this planet at this time not to leave it. And the only person who can tell you that it's time to leave is God. So walk through it. You will come out on the other side. That is a promise. It's not going to kill you. It's going to feel hard, and there's going to be days you're going to want to give up. You're going to cry yourself to sleep. You're going to pick yourself up in the morning, and you're going to keep going, and you will find a purpose in the turmoil, in the fire. It brought me to realizing I wanted to do my master's and become a psychologist. It gave me the courage to really push into my business even more. I've been building it for the last 9.5 years, but it gave me even more of the courage and the confidence to continue moving forward, because I knew, okay, people need to hear this story. Women need to know that it's going to be okay, that they too have a safe space. They can find the support. They're not alone on their journey, no matter what they're going through at that time.
You were able to find some support system that also helped you as well. Sometimes I feel like some people are actually open to support system, but in the past, when they try to lean on someone or try to share their burden, they became like public gossip. They looks like they've been stabbed in the back. And so I feel like maybe sometimes it's an issue of trust, where especially women of color, when they try to open up, it became in the public domain, their lives and what they're going through. And a lot of women would prefer to have their own personal space, their personal bubble where the struggles that they are going through is not being exposed. For a woman who's had such trust issues, is there any other way that she can be able to get help or get to report their confidence in a support system, maybe like a religious setting, or maybe like a friend, or like an institution by the government?
Yeah, and I think trust is a huge thing, right? You open up to someone and then they don't receive it properly, or they tell you, they'll say something about it. They'll make you feel some sort of way about it. And so you retract. And what I invite women to do is find somebody else to talk to, because the way that person reacted has nothing to do with you. It's their own perceptions, it's their own inner demons, it's their own way of thinking. So it's about you, and there are therapists that are available, which is completely confidential. That what you say to them, unless obviously if there's self-harm involved or there's court-appointed therapists and they have to disclose, everything else stays confidential. And in those areas, that's where you can find solace and heal. And yes, have your really close girlfriends. I know as we get older, and this is for guys too, I'm sure, as you get older, your circle shrinks. You're not out with 50 people. You have your 5 to 6 people that you can trust, that you know have your back no matter what. And even smaller sometimes. Sometimes it's 3 people. Find your tribe and find who can take you to that next level.
Find your tribe and find who can take you to the next level. I want to ask you something that I kind of noticed, and I've heard men talk about it. Why does it look like, are you ready for it?
Yeah.
Why does it look like every man now is a narcissist? Why every lady you talk to, he's a narcissist. Why is every man a narcissist in the planet Earth? What's going on?
It's not every man is a narcissist. There are several out there who have unhealed trauma. And it goes back to what you said, is that men have been told, do not cry, you have to handle it on your own. And I think as women, we are normally, it's in our nature to speak. We have our girlfriends, we will bitch, it just comes out. We will spew it and then it'll be gone. Men are not the same. So I think what's happened is, based on their upbringing, how they've been raised, their environments, there are a lot of men out there and women that are actual narcissists. And it's not everybody. It's not everybody. It's not every horrible man that's a narcissist. It's a situation where men who have unhealed trauma are now repeating cycles and are bringing that toxicity into relationships, creating situationships, not being honest, and they're not willing to do the work. So they're just perpetuating it over and over and over again. And so people put it in the category of narcissism because there's so much pride and ego in some of these men.
Wow. I think this is very enlightening for real, because every woman now, anything that happens at home, the guy does something, you want something from the guy, he doesn't give it to you, you ask for flour, he doesn't give you the flour, or he doesn't give you the particular flour that you want, you ask for a car, he doesn't give you the particular car that you want, you ask for an amount, he doesn't give you the exact amount that you want. He's a narcissist. But I appreciate your interpretation of it and why it feels like everything's been attached to that right now. A lot of men have gone through struggles, through behavioral patterns, maladaptive behaviors that has wrecked them, and because they haven't healed, they now bring it into the next relationship that they are in. And so because they didn't really take time to heal, And who knows, even the girl probably also isn't even healed. And so
Yep.
when two bad heads meet, there's all hell breaks loose. And then there's toxicity, and if they then have kids, it multiplies into those kids. Those kids have kids, it multiplies. Guess what happens? The community is absorbing it, and the community becomes so terrible, such that no matter the amount of police force that you have, there's still going to be men in society and the community. No wonder the more police, the more evil it was seen in society. It all begins in the home. What do you think? It all begins in the home.
I truly do believe it all begins at home. And I think after a certain point, though, yes, it begins in the home at a young age. But after a certain point, it is your responsibility as an adult to figure your life out. You cannot keep blaming, oh, my mother did this, my father did this, they didn't teach me their ways, and you're in your mid-40s. That doesn't fly, because there is so much out there to help you deal with your crap. And so, yes, there is things you learn in the home, but as you get older, it's your responsibility to take accountability for your own life. I can't go out and say, oh, well, something happened to me as a child, and so therefore I'm going to act a certain way as an adult. There's no accountability. And I think that accountability piece is lacking in many people, both men and women, in today's day and age. Nobody's willing to raise their hand and say, hey, yes, I did wrong, or I need to change something. They're just saying, oh, it's because they like to point the finger out and say, oh, it's so-and-so's fault, or it's this person's fault, it's the government's fault, it's my parents' fault, it's everybody else's fault, but no one's looking inside. And this is what's happened because social media is giving them oh yeah, you're right, you're totally allowed to feel some sort of way. Or somebody's telling them in their circle, oh, you're totally fine. But if the blind is leading the blind, it doesn't work. You're going to continue to make the same mistakes. So I think it comes down to accountability after your upbringing. Your upbringing does definitely, the nature versus nurture topic, it does come into play. However, it's not solely that, because so many people, if you look at so many athletes that have come out from the projects, or they've had a rough life and they've made it for themselves, you can't look at them and say, oh, well, they've had a rough life and that's the reason. They have made a choice to take accountability for their life and their choices to get to where they need to go. And that's not always the case. Sometimes life hands you bad luck, but how are you going to handle it? How are you going to make the best of what lemons you so have in that sense?
How are you going to turn the lemons into lemonade?
Yep. At the end of the day.
Is that why ladies are beginning to turn the other way? Is that why ladies are now saying, you know what, since you guys don't want to be men, we will now be men?
You're forced to. You're forced to step into your masculine. What else are you supposed to do?
And that's
right?
not a good place for a woman to be, though.
No, we're burnt out. We're totally burnt out being in our masculine. And that's why so many women have health issues more than ever before. There's more depression. All of this is more because we're forced to be strong in ways that we were never built to be. We weren't supposed to know how to fix a toilet. Like, these are things, unless we want to be a plumber, right? Like that's a different area, but we aren't. There's pink jobs and blue jobs for a reason, but now a lot of women are being forced to step into those roles because they aren't with the right men, or they haven't found the right men, whatever it is.
Like I said, it's not a good place to be, but it feels like the men have indirectly pushed the woman to that point. But now, when the woman finds themselves there, and you and I know that's not a very good place to be, because it then affects the relationships. You don't see a lot of women in their 50s, in their 60s, they've not even had their first marriage, let alone their second marriage. Just to get,
totally.
The women are living in denial. You get like, oh, I don't even need a man. When really and truly, you know, you really need a man. And then your mother had a husband and gave birth to you. And now it gets to your own turn. You're like, oh, I don't need a man. We are gonna go extinct someday. Like, continue that way.
Well, it'll never happen, because until at the end of the day, you still need a sperm and you still need an egg. At the end of the day, that's what's required. So men, but I think there is a movement now to go back into relationships, because women are craving that more than ever before, and healthy ones. So I think that's a big piece. But yeah, there's lots of women in their 50s who are like, I don't care for a man because I didn't find one yet. And you know what? I'm totally happy on my own. And there are studies that have shown that women live longer if they're single versus men who, if they live longer if they're in a relationship or married. So women are saying, well, I'm making the money. I don't need a headache of a man who hasn't done the work. So why am I bothering? So there's that mentality. And so they're jaded. There's lots of women are jaded, just like lots of men are jaded. There's lots of men who are like, I don't want to deal with a woman who expects everything and is not going to do anything, right? Like there's that aspect too. So I think it's a really complicated scenario.
Let's just bring balance to this, okay? Let's bring balance, because some persons out there be like, oh, if I don't, do I have to get married? Like, no one says you have to get married. I believe that everyone was not, I believe, I stand to be corrected. I don't believe that everyone's going to get married. I don't believe everyone was born to get married. But I also know that you'll be unfair. You'll be circuiting yourself or cheating yourself or your family lineage or even the community when you have all it takes to be married and you are resisting being married, or you are putting up attitudes and bad characters that are preventing you from actually getting married, especially when you in your heart you really want to be married. Because there's some people you find, I don't want to be married, and that's fine. You don't have to be married to be successful. You don't have to be married to fulfill your purpose in life. Sometimes you might need that second person to aid you into becoming that person that you were born to be. But nothing says, there was no place in the Bible or in whatever religion that people support that says that you have to get married, even though it's God's will for everyone, for every man to be married. But there are people that we respect, there are religious leaders, even in that Bible, that weren't even married. So what are we saying? So I'm just trying to bring a balance to it, because it doesn't look like, oh, do I have to get married? Nah, not at all. You don't have to. We're just saying, if you really want to get married, position yourself, be in the right place, have the right attitude, and let your life reflect your heart, meaning that your heart has got to carry a character of a virtuous woman or of a responsible man. You talked about you're very strong on power in the softness of a woman. You said there's power in the softness, there's strength in the woman being a woman, and the feminism of a woman. Could you elaborate? Could you teach us? I want to really learn that. Tell us.
When women are soft and we're nurturing, it is more magnetic. If I'm walking into a room and I'm in my masculine and I've like guns a-blazing, bull of China shop, I'm blocking people from coming up to me. If I've got a smile on my face and I've just got this soft energy, people are going to be magnetized to come say hi, because your energy speaks before you even enter a room, before you open your mouth. People notice your vibe. People notice how you are just based on how you're walking, how you're smiling. If you've got this attitude that no one can touch me and I've got a wall and I've got to be protected, it's not necessarily power. You're losing your power that way. When we're soft, it's actually easier for us to achieve what we want because we're leaning into being a woman. Because women were not meant to be hard. We've been hardened by life and we're not meant to. So there is that softness. It doesn't mean we don't have a voice. It doesn't mean we cannot be in our masculine in certain situations. We have to.
Just speaking to what you're saying though. So what you're trying to say, that the softness of a woman, the calmness of a woman The gentility of a woman does not make her weak. It's actually strength.
It is about the strength, because when you are calm, people will communicate with you differently. I was at a conference where I met you, and when I spoke, someone came to me after and said, I loved your calmness and your energy. It wasn't loud. Like, I wasn't yelling. It wasn't a loud presence, but the calmness and softness spoke volumes in that moment. And so it's with that, if we lean more into that as women, we end up attracting, and it's not every woman is different. Some women have more of that bolder personality, and other women don't have such a bold personality, and that's okay. But allowing yourself to be soft is huge.
Women should, we've got to get to the era where women should become women again. Ladies should become ladies again.
And it's because we don't necessarily know how. It's not about putting on makeup. It's not about getting your nails done. It is about how you are inside. It's the being aspect.
Is that one of the reasons why a lot of men talk about we don't feel respected? Like they don't talk to us like they are our wives, or like they are my girl. Like the tone, the loudness of the voice, the brashness in the voice and the tone is that part of it?
Yeah, and that's where they don't know how to switch off, because that's how they are outside when they're running their businesses or they're at the top of the corporate ladder. There's a harshness. They're very much in that masculine. And so they don't know how to come home and like hang it up at the door when they walk through the door to their partner. There's no more of that childlike play, allowing themselves to be courted, because they're so used to having to do stuff that if someone opens the door, it's like, oh, I can open my own door. Well, why? Someone's gonna open the door, let them open the door. I'm not gonna say no to someone opening the door for me. Saying thank you and not reciprocating something back. So when someone says, oh, you look great, or that's a great outfit, or your hair looks great, we're so used to, as women, to say, thank you, you look great too, instead of just accepting what's said and that's it. You do not have to say anything in return for that. So it's women need to return to be women and men need to be men, and we have to allow men to be men.
Totally concur. You know, like growing up back in Africa, for instance, Lagos, where life is tough. We wake up by, say, 3 a.m. to be at work that should start by 7 a.m. So you have to wake up like 4 hours before you should get there, going through the traffic. When you've gone through all of that, and then you're coming back home, the hustling and the bustling, the road, the traffic. So you left home around 3 a.m. You're getting up, say, around May 10 p.m. It's very hard to hang that toughness, because they actually have to be tough to be able to overcome the harshness of the society or the community. You know, give an example of this, like maybe Lagos or Warri, where, you know, by using Nigeria for an example, so they actually have to put on that robe, you know, that regalia to be able to muscle through life. But getting back home, they forget to hang it. And I think that's where they need the real Madhura to coach them. I'm hoping that, you know, your book's gonna come out, your therapy. I just can't wait, because I feel like people need to learn this softness. Like, even speaking to you, I can literally feel that pulsating softness and the calmness, you know, permeating through the screen. You know, that, man, your partner must really be grateful to God, because it's something that you know and you're practicing it and you're willing to teach people. And I just hope that we get more ladies who realize that women have got to be women again, and also men have also got to enter into their responsibilities and be men again. Just one question, okay? If you're not gonna die, okay, but years to come on your tombstone, okay, would you rather have the CEO of Fortune 500 company, standing CEO of Fortune 500 company, or Madhura, an amazing wife, beautiful wife, a loving mother, amazing kids, and a beautiful family? Which would you rather have, the Fortune 500 CEO or the amazing mom?
Amazing. amazing mom and wife, hands down. Because at the end of the day, it's that and I've had this conversation, I've done this with clients, is what on your deathbed, how do you want people to talk about you? What do you want them to say at your eulogy? Were you there? Where did you show up? Because all the money in the world, you're not taking that with you. You're not taking the money with you. You're not taking the cars. You're not taking the big house. But how you left every person who you came in contact with, and that's the legacy you're leaving. Are you making a positive impact on the lives of the people that you touch on a day-to-day basis? It doesn't matter if it's just a smile. It doesn't matter if you're opening the door, you're helping someone with their groceries, and you're smiling at the old lady or the old man walking down the street and saying hello. That's all that matters. It doesn't matter how much money you make. Fortune 500 company, best-selling author, that doesn't matter at the end of the day.
What matters the most is you were able to leave impact. What 3 things, last words you want to leave for your listeners, your viewers? 3 advice you want that matters the most to you, you want to leave for them?
Fall in love with the journey you're on, not the destination, because the destination always changes. Never give up, and your story and your testimony is for somebody else's hope. You've gone through it so that you can help somebody else.
That's so beautiful. Your story can become your glory and can be someone else's glory. Whoa, thank you so very much. I am so grateful. I'm so grateful for the short notice, for the challenges with the internet and all of those. I'm so grateful. Thank you, the real Madhura. Thank you. I'm hoping that I can get another opportunity to, because there's so much, but because of time and all the other things. But thank you so very much. I trust that every listener and every viewer have really have their lives challenged, inspired with this conversation that we've had. We'll always have conversations. As long as we keep having conversations, people will learn, people will get better, And if you're willing to learn, you see your life actually snowball to the next level of progress and of success. Thank you so very much, Madhura Joshi. Thank you, and for proving to us that you are the real Madhura. Thank you. And once again, it's Relationship with M. Shine. I hope that you were blessed. I hope that you enjoyed our amazing, intelligent, beauty and brain, the real Madhura, who's gifted us with our words of wisdom and experience and intellect. So we will call it a day. Thank you very much.